What's today is Thursday. Happy Thursday, happy Thursday, happy Thursday, my beautiful people. Hey, I'm gonna try my best not to hold us too long today. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into it. There was a couple of situations that I've had. Well, one is more of a situation, one was just the opportunity to just share knowledge that I've had lately. So it's two parts. But then you're gonna see where I'm going. We're gonna do a little coaching this morning. We got a little coaching that's going on this morning. So there's two situations I had. One, and both of these situations really prompted the conversation for today. Good morning, good morning. Is it Carlia? I hope I said it right. But both situations prompted the conversation for today. One was just intentionally wanting knowledge, and the other one it kind of scratched me a little bit. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. So one of my clients, we're going to be talking about boundaries, and this is why. So with one situation, it was a client, one of my clients. We have been working on boundaries, so she had a real question that I felt that to answer in abroad as well would be very beneficial. Now the other one, it happened sometime this morning. It was a little different. It was a little different, but if you stick with me, you'll see where it all ties in. So the question was, from my client, and I feel like a lot of us may have that question. I remember having that question myself at one point in time: is why setting boundaries? Why does setting boundaries feel hard? Why does setting boundaries feel hard? And I had to, think about it. And as she said it, I didn't have to think too long. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Didn't have to think too long to her question, and because when she said it, I remember having a moment where I thought the same thing. I thought setting boundaries was hard, and I had to let her know that setting boundaries is not the hard part, sweet baby. She said, "Huh? What you mean?" Coach Tawan, I said it's not. Setting boundaries is not the hard part. The hard part is giving yourself permission to choose yourself. She said, huh? Yes. Setting boundaries is not as hard as we think it is. It's permitting yourself to choose yourself. That's the part that you're having an issue with. Most people struggle not with the words. They don't struggle with the words, but with the guilt or the fear behind the words. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. So setting boundaries ain't hard as we think. It's actually permitting yourself to be chosen. Um, it's not that people don't know how to set boundaries, and I think because I've had to coach many individuals, and that's one of the things that they say is, oh, it's hard and I can't do it. Yes, you can do it. You have to make a choice. It's that haven't decided they haven't decided they are allowed to. A lot of people have not made a decision to understand that they are allowed to set boundaries. They're allowed to choose themselves. Because again, it's not the setting the boundary, it's the choosing of self. Um, why don't most people allow themselves to do such a thing? Well, people fear. People fear will keep you from choosing you. People fear is disappointing others. It's being judged. It's losing relationships. It's being called selfish. It's conflict. It's not being liked. That's people fear. So sometimes we don't allow ourselves to choose ourselves because we have people fear. Good morning, good morning, good morning. So when you're sitting in with that people fear, then of course you don't allow yourself to choose yourself. And when you don't allow yourself to choose yourself, then yes, it seems that boundaries may be a little bit difficult. But sweet baby, I come to tell you that it's not the boundaries that's difficult, it's the choice that you have to make to choose yourself. So they betray themselves to avoid temporary discomfort. When you are not choosing yourself to please other people, you are allowing yourself to betray yourself. That's staying longer and louder than the temporary discomfort of allowing somebody to know that this is your boundary and you're gonna stick to it. Good morning, Mark Keith. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Enforcing it is a big thing. Enforcing boundaries is a big thing. People can say words, but standing on them, baby, that's a whole. That's gonna take some. That's gonna take some work. That's gonna take some intentions because in that moment you're gonna have to stand on your boundary without backtracking. Sometimes we backtrack because again we're thinking about old wounds, we're thinking about old situations. But this is what we're gonna allow ourselves to continue to move forward and stand on what we mean. That's where the fear comes in at. Why? Why, Coach Tawanda? Because enforcing a boundary requires self-respect, not just the sentence. I'm telling you now, I said it and I say it again for those in the back that didn't hear me. Because enforcing a boundary requires self-respect, not just the sentence. So you're going to have to remember, we've talked about the last few weeks, we talked about sitting with self. What do you stand for? What do you want? What do you need? What do you require? Having self-reflection time, having that quiet time with self to help you understand that, hey, something's not right up in here. We got to shift. We got to shift. We got to shift. But no, seriously, when most people haven't truly asked themselves what they need, when they haven't asked themselves what drains them or what do they value or how do they want to be treated, most people haven't took the time to ask themselves there. And without clarity, boundaries, it is complicated. When you're not clear on what you want, what you need, what you value, how you want to be treated, when you're not clear about those things, yes, it is going to feel complicated, very complicated. With clarity, they're going to feel a little natural. I'm saying this from experience, not just something that I heard on the streets. I had to allow myself in a position to understand that I needed to choose me. I was waiting for other people to choose me, but I needed to choose me. I needed to make a choice. I needed to make a decision to say that what I needed mattered. And a lot of times we have been in life and been in a situation that told us that we didn't matter, that told us that what we thought and what we felt, it wasn't important. But that's not the truth. It's so far from it. Choosing yourself can feel unfamiliar when you have been raised to please. Yeah. When you was told to keep the peace, when you grew up being strong, for everybody, for everything, you had to be the strong person. When you were the problem solver or the caregiver, you never saw healthy boundaries modeled. Now, not in my household growing up, I'm just going to be honest. We didn't, boundaries was not a thing. Boundaries only existed for my mother. No offense, love her to death. I mean, love her to life. No love her to death, but life. But boundaries was not I realized she didn't, what it was, she didn't learn boundaries. So growing up, we didn't learn boundaries. She was allowed to do whatever, say whatever. And of course, sometimes when we think, as parents, we kind of think that that's okay, but no, it's not. Even when I'm raising my children, I still allow my children to have a voice. Now, it don't mean that their voice going to oversee mine, but however they do have a voice, I need to respect their boundaries. Some things I may think are light. Now, it's a difference between something that I have to enforce because, again, I have boundaries as a parent, but I also feel as children, they should have boundaries because those children are going to one day be adults. I'm just saying good morning, good morning, good morning. So myself, I was raised in those places of, having to just please everybody else. I was raised in those spaces where you just have to be quiet just to keep the peace. I was raised in the space to where you had to be the problem solver. You had to be the caregiver. At a very young age, I had a lot of responsibility. And within those responsibilities, boundaries could not be set because I had to do what I was told to do. And it was nothing else. It was her way or the highway. Eventually the highway won at the age of 15, but that's not why we're here. Boundaries, they're going to challenge the old survival habits that you had. And I learned that when I remember in 2021 when the tower started falling down, and the divorce, the separation, because divorce came a little bit after, but the separation, identity theft, everything that was going on in life, where life flipped itself upside down for me. I remember, it was a conversation then throughout that time because my mom played a big part of it. And I think that I needed to go through that season to understand how I had not really allowed myself to set boundaries. And I remember having a conversation with my mom and she said, well, you're just being selfish because boundaries are not for you, they're for other people. And I remember as she said it, I remember growing up hearing her say the same thing. So it was never, no, good morning, Joanna. Good morning, good morning. So it was never no thing or no space to where you can actually set boundaries. You can actually be yourself or even try to understand or decide what hurt, what didn't hurt, what you needed, what you didn't need, and all those things. It's just, it wasn't in our household. That's not what I grew up with. It was later in life, like I say, when life started, really showing itself in a different view, that I had to learn. And it was the most powerful thing that I came across. The most powerful thing that I was able to do for myself is to allow myself and give myself permission to choose me. Boundaries became easier the moment I decided that I mattered. And I want you to understand that even through this moment, boundaries become easier when you decide that you matter. Once you decide that your peace matters, once you decide that your needs are valid, once you decide that you are allowed to take space, when you make a decision that you're allowed to have limits, when you allow yourself in that space, let me tell you, then boundary setting becomes natural. So, to that question that I was asked by my client, why is boundaries so hard to set? I'm going to run it back, sweet baby. Boundaries ain't hard to set. You just got to give yourself permission to choose you. And then once you allow yourself to be chosen, then you would allow yourself in a position to understand that the boundaries that you have set for you is tied to the need, tied to the value, tied to the core of who you are. And that's what you're going to stand on. Y'all with me? TikTok, you with me? YouTube, come on, let's move this thing together. Like I told you, it was two parts to this thing. So this morning, well, it was late. It was late morning. I woke up to a phone call. I'm gonna have to run it back a little bit. I'm gonna have to run it back so you can understand the nature of this phone call. So I woke up to this phone call, and what is that? What is that? Okay, so I woke up to this phone call, and the phone call was from a young man that I actually blocked. So we ain't gonna say no names, but we're gonna give a little content. Let me go ahead and roll it back for you. I met this. So for those that know and those that don't, I am single. Just in case my husband is around there looking for me, baby. Here I go. But no, serious. No, that's seriously. But no. So I've been in this space of dating, and I met this young man here a couple months ago. And this is where boundaries. This is why I say this conversation today about boundaries was prompted by, one, the conversation that I had with my client and what we're actually working through. But what really had this to be the topic this morning was the conversation that I had this morning. Wasn't thinking it was going to turn out like that. To be honest with you, I was in my bed sleeping, resting, didn't think I would hear from this person again. But like I say, I'm going to run it back. A few months ago, I met this young man, and because I'm in a dating space or whatever. And I do have some non-negotiables. And one of my non-negotiables, or one of my boundaries, however you want to put it, is where I'm open to date a man with kids, I'm not open to date a man with a certain age child. For me, I have a 16-year-old and I have a 22-year-old. That being said, there's no need for me to retract, start over, to raise babies. That's just me. It's no disrespect to anybody else. And so this young man has a 5-year-old. Now I'm 44 years old. I don't mind telling my age because it is what it is. And it's taught me a lot throughout time, right? So we ain't ashamed of it. And I think I look good for a little 44, but that ain't why we here. Come on, let's keep on talking. So I talked to the young man, and this was around May, April. I think it was April, the end of April or somewhere in there. And so, with conversating with him, I realized that he had a 5-year-old. Well, not only did he have a 5-year-old, but he also wanted more kids. Again, I already came into this dating space knowing that, baby, a 5-year-old and me ain't gonna do it. Now, it's no disrespect, so I want to clear it up. I'm gonna explain it here, but I don't owe the explanation to a person when I tell you that, hey, this is something that I'm not gonna do, right? And so, I told him, I said, well, say, hey, I think you're cool or what have you, but I don't have the capacity to be with someone right now with the child so young. Y'all got to understand, baby, I be catching trips. Y'all may not see it on the little social media and stuff, but trust me, I stay catching flights. Every now and then you're going to see. So with the way my life is set up, I have a 22-year-old son that is independently on his own, doing very well. Clap it up for him. I love you, son. That ain't why we're here. Let's keep on rolling. I have a 16-year-old daughter that is actually, she's my baby. She's in my household. She's my responsibility, but I don't have to hover over her. And baby, trust me, it is already put in place to where if I need to leave town, if I need to do anything that she's not going with me on, I have somebody designated to make sure she good. It don't take but a phone call, baby. They love it. They love when she come through. So we good. We cover. I am not in a position to I don't really have to find babysitters. All I do is tell my daughter, I say, hey, call who you going to. Because I have it set up when she said when I say call who you're going to, she already know it's gonna be if it's school days or whatever that's involved in that time, she know where she's going, right? So she get to pick and choose. It ain't no question. I ain't gotta ask him. She's just gonna go on. And so this young man, but anyway, I'm dragging it out, but I'm gonna go ahead and get to it. So I let the young man know that it just wouldn't work for me and him because he had such young kids. And he wanted to convince me that, oh, it'll be okay. No, it's not going to be okay. Well, we could just go ahead and get started. Good morning, Mr. Mo. Good morning. We can go ahead and get started. You know what I'm saying? We can just still, how did he say it? We can still get to know each other. And, we could talk about it later. Sir, we will not talk about me having children later. And we will not talk about me being involved with raising your child later. Now, it's no disrespect. Don't take it that way. It has nothing to do with the baby. I'm sure she's beautiful, lovely, and all that. But I'm telling you, I don't have the capacity for it. And this is what the issue is. Even if at that point, if I decided to say, oh well, maybe, and it wasn't no decide, I would not decide, y'all. I would not decide to date nobody with young children. No disrespect. I just won't do it. But I told the young man, I said, no, it's just not something that I want to do. I'm not okay with it. I don't want to continue on communicating. Why? There's no need for us to get tied up or whatever. That's just a boundary. And he was trying to force his stuff through the space. And I had to explain to him, see, that's what we're going to have an issue at. Not only do you have a child or you have something going on that I know that would create discomfort for myself and you for that matter. I said, but you don't even have enough boundary for yourself because you should be going into the dating space saying, I'm not going to date nobody that don't accept my child. That should be a boundary. That should be 100% on the table. Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. And especially being that you have full custody of your child, why would you want to date somebody that's telling you that they don't have the capacity to be that child's babysitter or however you want to put it? So anyway, we go forward. A few weeks ago, now months passed, I ain't talked to the young man. A few weeks ago, this young man called my phone. It's like 4:00 in the morning. And it was a pretty silly call, which would again, it took for me, it was like more of, you know what, I am so glad that I said no. I'm so glad that I didn't move forward in that because you're showing yourself and other things are coming out that I just know I wouldn't deal with. So we got through that conversation and I blocked this young man. I asked him to not call my phone anymore. There was nothing for us to conversate about, and I blocked him. Okay, he's blocked. That was a few weeks ago. Why did my phone ring this morning? My phone rung again this morning with this same young man calling my phone, but now he has called from a different number. He's called from a different number. Of course, I don't know the number. I answer the phone, and I realized it is him. And I wanted to get agitated for a moment, but you've heard me say many times, as a personal development coach, I am called and certified, meaning there are going to be some moments that's just not going to look the way I want them to look. There are situations and conversations and timing of some things that's going to stretch me. So that's why I say this conversation this morning stretched me because I had to ask, instead of getting agitated, because I did get a little agitated when he called my phone a few weeks ago. But it was more of the content of the call when I answered and what was said that was just disturbing to me. So it was all just a miss, right? So anyway, I done blocked the young man. And he did found another number a couple of weeks later to call my phone. So this is where it got real. And this is why this conversation about boundaries was really, really prompt this morning, because I had to ask him, instead of getting upset, and I had to ask the only thing I could think of in that moment. I said, let me ask you a question. I said, since you are again calling my phone, I said, do you know anything about boundaries? Yeah, I know boundaries. You know what I'm saying? I got boundaries. I said, oh, okay. I said, okay. I said, have you ever had somebody that, you was conversating with or whatever, you just felt that you didn't want to conversate with them no more or what have you, and you know what I'm saying, you blocked them or distance yourself or what have you, and I'm in a calm tone at this point, like we need some clarity in this moment, because we're not going to run this back. Like, you don't need to call my phone no more, but hey, let's go ahead. I can be civil. Let me just get to the bottom of this. Let me see what's really prompting this. And he said, yeah, man, when I, saying, if I tell the person don't call my phone, they better not call my phone. And he was like, and I'm like, oh my God, this is just so disturbing. And so then I went to want to label him in so many different ways. It's like, no, that is not why we're here. So I asked him, I said, okay, well, Why is it okay for you to decide if you don't want anybody to call your phone, yet I blocked your number and you still found another number? And here it is, wee hours in the morning, you done went and found another number to call my phone. I said, now, one or two things. Either you don't understand boundaries or you don't respect boundaries. He stopped for a second. He didn't say anything. I don't know if he was shocked that I was calm. And it's like I went into straight coaching mode. At 2 something this morning, I went into straight coaching mode because I need you to understand something. I was like, well, maybe he just don't know. Maybe he don't know how this thing really works. But what he needs to understand that I have boundaries. There's certain boundaries, there's certain things that I'm not going to negotiate on. And I have a right to be able to say that without having to go into so a deep explanation about why I made the choice that I've made. So here we go. So I got to talking to him and I asked him, I said, so let me ask you, I said, well, why, if you understood boundaries, I said, and this is why I say that you either don't know it or don't respect it. And I think it's a tad bit of both, the lack of understanding and the lack of respect. I said, because I blocked your number. In order for you to be calling my phone from a whole nother number, that means you know your number was blocked. Well, I know, but I just feel like you should give me a chance, but you can't make me do something that I don't want to do. Why? I said I wouldn't be able to. And so I had to let him know, first of all, I wouldn't even be able to give you a chance because you don't have respect for yourself. I don't want to be in a situation or with anyone or a relationship with anyone that don't respect themselves because how am I going to respect you in that space? And I can't be with somebody that I don't respect. So you see how that works? And so I had to tell him, I said, well, I irregardless of what you feel or what you think. Now I'm gonna be honest, I ain't gonna toot my own horn though. But I'm gonna say if I was him, I want me too. But that's not why we're here. I have a boundary. And my boundary, good morning, good morning, good morning, hello. My boundary is there's certain things I won't accept. And I don't even want to be like I have this line, and that line ain't drawn about what a person have, financially and all that. Now it do got a little touch up in it now, we got a little bit up in it. But it's more on how you respect your peace, how you respect your boundaries, how you respect your self-worth. I mean, what your self-worth is, all those things, because according to how you treat yourself, then I know according to my boundaries and according to what I say, what I will and will not accept, then I don't see where we're going to have a big fight. Because if you respect yourself, then you have better chances of respecting everybody else that comes through that space because that's what you value. So this young man, like I said, we're on the phone and something that could have turned, a little wild. I actually ended up, we had a conversation, and after the conversation, I was even more shocked. He didn't go off. He said, you know what? He said, I'm gonna be honest with you. He said, I didn't think of it that way. He said, I just thought about it, what I wanted. And I will be honest, when you rejected me, I've been thinking about the fact of you rejected me all these months. And it's just, even when I try to forget about it, it just keep coming up. I said, sweet baby, that's the issue you have because I never rejected you. I just stated to you that you and I wouldn't be a match. And you can look at it as rejection because you're not getting what you want. But no, if I'm saving the both of us, because if I enter into that space, I'm letting you know that it's not going to have your peace attached to it. Because I already know I'm going to be uncomfortable. So if I enter into that space and I'm uncomfortable, then you're going to be uncomfortable too. So don't look at it as rejection, sweet baby. Look at it as me saving your peace for you. Something that you need to go in and think about doing yourself because that's your responsibility. I said, sir, I have boundaries. And this is a boundary. Now, I've already told you what I will not accept and what I will accept. And at this point, it's all of what I will not accept when it comes to you. Now, you have really crossed the line. This is what I need you to do. I said, I'm not even going to block this number. I'm not, because I'm going to just flat out tell you, do not call or text my phone anymore. Understand, I did not reject you. It wasn't rejection, it was honesty. And just accept honesty because the honesty was attached to my boundaries. And my boundaries is attached to my peace. And if I'm not living and sitting in peace, then guess what? You're not going to be able to do it neither because we're not going to be able to create that space for each other. And I gave him a little homework because you talked to Coach Tawanda going to give you a little homework. But I understood the reason he kept calling my phone, although I had blocked him, although I let him know that, hey, it wouldn't be no match for us for whatever particular reasons. This young man didn't understand boundaries. He just didn't know. And it's like, how can you hold somebody for something they didn't know? So I gave him a couple of assignments. And the assignment is go and learn about boundaries. And in the process of you learning about boundaries, I need you to understand what you need so that you can set proper boundaries for yourself and have them aligned so that you can be in alignment when you're going out into this space. So, okay, anyway, those are the stories. We have two situations, and both of those situations have brought me to the place to talk about boundaries. One, the fact of understanding that boundaries is not hard. The hard part is choosing yourself, giving yourself permission to choose yourself. And then two, standing on your boundaries. Standing on your boundaries because it protects your peace. Go ahead and put that line and make sure you just don't draw this little thin line. You better put a dent in that thing because at the end of the day, that is your protection, is protecting your peace. The purpose of boundaries is to protect your peace. Understand that the purpose of boundaries is to protect your peace, is to guide your decisions, is to teach others how to treat you. They help you manage your energy. They help you protect your emotions and your mental health. And, they avoid burnout because when you don't have your boundaries set, you get pulled in all different types of directions. You are very unaligned with what it is that you really desire to do or have because everybody else, what everybody else needs from you matters more. Boundaries protects you. It protects your peace. It allows you to stay in line with your values. Remember, we talked about a few weeks ago, values. Understand what it is that you value. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I want you to understand that without boundaries, you're going to end up feeling a little overwhelmed. Yes, you are going to feel a little overcommitted because you're going to be trying to do all the things at all the time for everybody. Without boundaries, you're going to feel unseen. You're going to feel unappreciated. And you are going to feel emotionally drained. Why? Because you don't have boundaries intact and you are allowing access from everybody and anybody, and they don't care as long as they're getting what they want, but it ain't their responsibility to care about your boundaries. It's yours. I want you to understand that this is where we're going to go into a little coaching. Go ahead and take notes if you need to know so you can go ahead and be able to walk forward doing and sitting the way that you need to, respecting yourself, allowing yourself permission to understand that you should be making decisions that's going to protect your peace. There's 4 types of boundaries, sweet babies. You have physical boundaries. It's your personal space, touch and physical needs. I have a thing I don't like and my kids, we had to learn some boundaries when it came down to my children. Because children can play so much. I mean, play a little bit much. And sometimes they don't really, you have to teach them to respect your personal space. So even when it came down to my kids was not just allowed to just jump all over me. And, just because they want to play and they call it playing, they can't just don't roll up on me. Don't put your hands on me. You gotta announce that we playing. I don't play like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, got a backstory to it, but we ain't gonna back that story up right now. We're gonna keep on going because we got time. We on time sprint right this morning, right? So I don't let them just all up in my face touch. I don't like that. That's the boundary for me. So even with my kids, I had to set that boundary. Now, how you allow people to do in your personal space, that's on you. But you have 4 types of boundaries. You have physical boundaries. You have emotional boundaries, which is your feelings and your triggers and your emotional safety. Then you have time boundaries. Yes, you have to put boundaries around your time. How you spend your time and what you could commit to is your responsibility. It was a time, and you heard me say in previous recordings, that it was a time where I didn't even do a schedule for myself. My day was kind of open to whoever needed me, and I was drained. I was emotionally drained because I was always too available for everybody else. And then I realized I wasn't having enough time for myself. So you got time boundaries. If I'm working on something, I cannot do it. I'm saying, hey, sweet baby, right now I can't do it. Listen, it feels good. Now it was a point of time where it felt a little guilt, but I realized that that guilty feeling that I was feeling was me doing something different. It was me doing something right. But then you have mental energetic boundaries. So you have your mental boundaries, your thoughts, your belief, your mindset, and your energy. You in the energy you allow around you. So I can't sit in all rooms. There are some rooms, there are some tables that I will not allow myself to sit at. It's not saying I'm better than the ones that sitting at the table. It is just saying that this space is not conducive to my mental space. Like I'm gonna keep my peace, and I don't care who it disturbs, who it bothers, because you're gonna understand one thing I understood when I really understood boundaries and start setting boundaries and standing on them. I start losing people. I started losing people. I started losing people that I thought was friends. And at first I was like, okay, did I do something wrong? No, see, baby, I ain't do nothing wrong. I did something right. I understood that they was there because of what they needed and what they wanted, not really. They was there in that space, not because they really wanted to be in that space. It was attached to what they needed from me. And what they needed from me and what they was pulling from me, it was really draining my energy. So it's okay when I set boundaries and people fell off. I became okay with that. The soldiers that stuck around, baby, I'm just gonna go ahead and clap them up because there was some soldiers that stuck around, and to this day, I ride with them. I realized that they wasn't there because they needed me. They was there because they genuinely wanted me. So when boundaries were set, they respected it. We good. We Gucci to this day. There's a few signs that there's a few signs that your boundaries need strengthening. You feel guilt when you say no. When I first started setting boundaries and standing on those things, it was a little guilt because you wondering how people gonna feel and you don't want to hurt nobody feelings and all the things. But then I had to start understanding that baby, it's gonna be temporary for them or it's gonna be long term for myself. And when I chose myself in the long run, I understood that hey, I'm gonna have to say no, and they just gonna have to be okay with it. And not only are they gonna have to be okay with it, because that's not the most important thing when it comes down to myself and what I need. I'm gonna have to be okay with it. I'm gonna have to be okay with hurting people's feelings if their feelings are hurt because I had to set a boundary, and my boundary is to protect my peace. When you avoid conflict and but end up resentful, like you're gonna let this thing slide, you ain't gonna speak up for yourself, you're gonna go ahead and silence your voice and all those things, but then you walk away from the space. Good morning, Miss Courtney. You walk away from the space and you feel a little resentful. That's because you avoiding conflict. That was a moment that you shouldn't have been avoided. That was a moment you should have spoke up for yourself. It just lets you know, that little tug right there just lets you know that your boundaries need a little bit more strengthening. When you feel responsible for other people's emotions, I had a conversation with another client the other day, and that was one of the things that she was dealing with. Other people was dealing with stuff, and when she called me, it was like this panic because my clients, they do get a couple of calls throughout the week when they have a serious situation, and I had to tell Sweet Baby, I said, listen, Sweet Baby, don't waste your calls. If you go, if when you call because it's really, really pertaining to you, because you just had a whole conversation and your emotions and feelings was wrapped up in what somebody else had going on. That's their that's their weight to carry. Now, you can send a prayer, you can send a sympathy card, but what you will not do is sit in the space to take on those emotions like they're your responsibility. No, they have to go figure out their life. Because, see, right now, you have to understand you have me as your coach because you're trying to figure out your life, and you can't be trying to help. I'm here trying to help you figure out your life, and you trying to be you worried and boggle down trying to figure out somebody else's. No, Sweet Baby, we got to come on. We got to do a little bit better. We got to shift. And so we had to shift that whole space. She had to go back in with more homework because there was some things that she had to work on. Because see, Coach Tawana don't play that. If we're gonna move, we're gonna move it with intentions. It's results that I look for. So we're gonna have to go ahead and break that chain. When you overgive but rarely feel supported. Sometimes I remember finding myself in places where I was always giving, always doing, always trying to be the one to help out, and always trying to be the one. It felt good to be called on. It felt good to be the one that people called on. But hell no, that started draining me because then when it came down to me needing support, those very people that I was there running to support, nobody was around, I did soon feel like understood that wasn't nobody coming to save me. I was gonna have to save myself. So there was no need for me to be out here over giving because it was making sure I can give, but I ain't gonna over give, and I'm gonna make sure my giving is attached to something healthy and not something unhealthy. I'm not gonna give out of guilt. Even right now, I'm one. I would give what listen. If you need it, I got you. But if it's a moment where it comes where I have to feel guilty to do it, you ain't gonna be able to get it. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to hang up from here and call the next number. That's not being disrespectful. That's just standing on how I feel. That's standing on my boundaries. When you say yes immediately and then you regret it later, I always tell people, I tell my clients, you heard me say it here. I also remind myself, before you give a yes, you better think about it. Before you say yes, you need to take a moment to actually think about it. Because if you're not allowing yourself that moment, you're going to say, yeah, and then you're going to feel a little guilty later. This is not the season. We are healing and moving forward, and we're standing on what we value and what we believe in. So, no, we're not going to be able to just give yeses. You better sit and evaluate that yes and make sure that yes ain't going to drain you before you give it. You feel drained after conversations of certain people. Certain conversations I have had to cut off. It's been family members and all. Certain conversations I have had to come off and get cut off. And guess what? I don't feel guilty for it. I'm not going to apologize for it. I've had phone calls say, Tawana, why you don't want to be in the group no more? Because the group is stressing me out. And I don't want to be attached to anything that's stressing me out. The group is not growing me, it's stressing me. So I don't want to be attached to it. There's times I've been in conversations and I'm like, hey, sweet baby, I love you. And I appreciate you thinking about me and calling me, but this conversation I can't no longer sit in. It's draining me. I have to get it. Ain't no, oh, I ain't finna act like I got a pot of water on the stove to get you off the phone or none of that. I'm just gonna tell you that no, I can't sit here because it's draining me. That way, you know that you can't come to me with draining conversations because I'm not gonna sit in it with you. Come on and roll down to number 4. How to set healthy boundaries. How do we set healthy boundaries? First of all, you got to get clear on what you need. You can't set a healthy boundary if you don't know what it is you need. You got to be able to communicate simply and directly. If you can't tell a person and express to a person, like I say with the conversation this morning, I had to say, sweet baby, listen. I've explained to you why a relationship with you and I would not work. I don't really have to go no farther than that. I'm clear about what I need, and I did communicate with you. I had to follow through on it by letting him know, although you've waited this time and you feel like, in your mind, you feel like you fighting for something. No, don't fight for nothing over here, sweetheart, because I've already made up my mind and I'm going to follow through on what I've already stated because what I stated is attached to my peace. It's nothing. It'll not be nothing. You're going to have to release guilt. I hung up that phone this morning. I wasn't guilty for it. I wasn't guilty for it. Actually, I don't know the word that I want to use because I'm not going to say excited because I was still kind of sleepy, but I was okay with it and why I was okay with it because I had an opportunity to teach somebody in that moment, in that type of situation. I was able to teach somebody how to go back and rewind life for themselves and set boundaries for themselves. Because I understand if you over here trying to convince me to break my boundary, then I know you don't know none or have none set for yourself. Good morning, every day, every day. Make sure you have an amazing day on purpose now. And so you got to release guilt. Guilt is a sign that you're breaking old patterns, not doing something wrong. The guilt sometimes have you thinking that you're doing something wrong. I'm here to tell you when you're setting boundaries, understand you're not doing anything wrong. You are breaking old patterns. You are allowing yourself in the space to understand that you deserve more and different, and you just gonna stand on it. No need to be guilty about that. No need to feel bad or feel guilty for telling somebody no, especially if you told them yes, it's gonna have you, not peaceful. I'm just saying. Boundaries are an art because they require practice, not perfection. Yeah. They are leadership skills, there's self-love skills, they are spiritual discipline, they are lifetime management tools, and when you master them, I be thinking I'm grown over here, baby, with my boundaries. Not to be funny, but I know that time and remember that season when I didn't have them. I remember the season where everybody got a yes, even when I wanted to give them no. So yes, I am elated at the fact of what I've learned and learning it, mastering it has allowed me so much peace in my life. Like I can move in this thing and not feel guilty about the decisions that I make because again, I was once there and now I'm on the other side of the fence, baby. I ain't going back. I am not going back for nobody. Boundaries, once you master them, they're gonna help you build life where your yeses, they're gonna be powerful. And your no's, oh baby, they gonna be respected. Hey, that's my time today. I just wanted to come here and I just needed to share that. I didn't even know for the most part what I was going to talk about this morning until this morning came. And I said, you know what? I think this is a good topic. I think it's going to be a great topic to talk about boundaries because one, I'm coaching actually a couple of individuals in boundaries, but then also just that conversation that I had this morning that prompted me to have to stand on my boundaries. It was enough said. I love the space that I am because I'm gonna be honest with you. With the conversation this morning, I remember a time in life where I could actually see myself because of where I was, because the lack of respect that I had for myself, because the lack of boundaries that I had set for myself, because of me not sitting, understanding what I needed and what my values said. I remember a time I probably would have entertained that conversation. Oh, he done found another phone to call me on. Maybe he really wants something. Maybe I can help him raise his little 5-year-old, although I don't want no babies. Oh, maybe he pushing that hard. Maybe I should go ahead and get them tools untied. No, seriously. If I had to be honest, if I had to be transparent, and if I had to just be real for a second, because I ain't gonna teach you nothing that I ain't learned and practice, put in practice myself. But if I had to be honest with myself, there was a time in my life, according to some situations that I allowed myself to enter into, there was a time in my life that I would have probably fell into the traps. But baby, you can't trap me now because I have boundaries set. I know what I want, what I need, what I desire. I know my values. I know my self-worth. And I ain't gonna apologize to nobody for it. I'm not gonna apologize for wanting and needing and understanding that I deserve more. I don't owe you no apology. You're going to accept it or you don't. It is not my responsibility to worry about your feelings about it. It's my responsibilities to keep myself protected. That's it. That's all. Hey, it's been great. It's been great. It's been great. I want to take a moment right now. Should have said it at the beginning, but hey, December the 15th, December the 15th, there will be a Vision and Goals workshop that I will be hosting online. It will be via Zoom. There is a link in my bio. I have 2 tickets. I don't know when you're gonna see this or when you're not, but I actually have 2 tickets that has been donated. I had a friend of mine, she actually bought 4 tickets. She said, hey, I got 4 tickets. I want to donate it because I think and feel that someone, that it'll be very useful. So I have 2 free tickets. The only way I'll give those tickets away if I get an inbox that say, hey, I need it. But not just the inbox, you're going to make sure you follow on social media. You got to make sure you share and go ahead and invite at least 3 people. But I have a seat for somebody that needs to be in a space on December the 15th, which will be on Zoom for the Vision and Goals workshop. We ain't just going to be talking about vision and goal, putting no pictures on the little board. But what we are going to do is be in a space to allow ourselves to heal, allow ourselves to grow, allow ourselves to believe, and allow ourselves to walk in purpose. In doing all of that, we are going to line out and be intentional about how we're going to move in 2026. So we will be putting some goals together. So again, click the link in the bio if you want to go ahead and join us. But if you really feel that you need to be there, but this moment is just a little bit iffy on the financial aspect of things, go ahead and jump in the inbox. I'll tell you what you need to do so you can go ahead and get that ticket. If you know somebody, it may not be you. You may say, oh, I know boundaries and I respect myself and I have that time for myself. I'm A1. That is okay. It is a blessing. I just know for me, at one time, I wasn't there. I am there now. But if you see this, there's 2 tickets that's waiting for somebody that may need to enter into the workshop on December the 15th, which will be this coming up Monday. So go ahead and reach out to me for those tickets if it is need. Other than that, y'all make sure y'all have an amazing day on purpose. I came here, I said what I needed to say, I did what I needed to do. I want you to understand that you are responsible for giving yourself permission to set boundaries for yourself. And when you do so, you're going to do it without guilt. I love you. Have an amazing day on purpose.